no shame.
Welcome to the 9th episode of Show No Shame. I am Benji Phillis. I'm joined tonight by JKen.
What up?
Joined by Carter Bodacious.
What up, you Bodacious peeps?
And a new friend of the show, but no new friend of ours, but still a friend, if that makes sense. Mike
We'll see what
Buchhauer.
happens.
Mike Buchhauer is in the building, real estate agent of LA.
Yo, how's it going?
What's going on, Mike?
Oh, just same old. I'm pretty excited to be on this. I'm actually surprised that you guys invited me on this.
Oh, dude, we're happy
dude,
to have you.
you're our go-to for this, man.
Oh, come on. We're 9 episodes in, all right?
Yeah.
Like, I know that's a lie.
No, dude, like seriously, because you have a really eclectic background, like all of our guests tend to. And the older we get, everybody's sort of branched off and have started doing their own thing. So it's like, we're happy to have, keep things as diverse as possible. And especially in like a real estate plentiful city like LA, just to have you come on and drop some knowledge on us and, teach our listeners what
Shed
the
some
deal is.
light. Yeah, exactly.
Shed some light. I mean, talk to me. What do you guys want to hear? I mean,
Let's talk about you.
shoot it
Let's
up.
talk about you.
Yeah,
for a minute.
let's talk
All
about
right.
like your background, like where you grew up, where you came from, what led you to real estate.
What led me to real estate? I mean, that was a weird one. I mean, just to kind of start it off, I mean, like not from the US at all whatsoever. I was born in Germany, came out here when I was 6. Actually got super lucky. My mother ended up winning the green card lottery. And without that, I would know none of you cats right now.
I actually didn't know that. No,
Really?
I didn't even know that.
I thought you were
Yeah.
born and bred in LA and then had
No.
dual citizenship.
No. So that came much later. So when I first came over here at 6, my dad, my dad does, he's a mechanical engineer for BMW M in Munich, and they brought him over here in 97 on a 3-year contract.
That explains a lot.
Yeah.
He drives only BMWs. People.
I've wondered.
So yeah, that's kind of where that comes from, and my love for cars. But during that time, during that 3 years, my parents ended up splitting up and divorcing, and my dad went back to Munich, and just on a whim, my mom went through the process of the green card lottery and hit the jackpot. So
Damn.
yeah,
Yeah.
so we were able to stay, and then I ended up growing up in America.
Dog, in a way, you're like the true immigrant story
Yeah.
in the modern day form.
Yeah. Like it's no joke. And I actually, the citizenship didn't come until much later. So until almost 2013,
No shit.
when I was leaving to go back to college in Munich. So on the green card, you're allowed maximum to go out of the country for 6 months at a time.
Whoa.
But if you start doing that repeatedly, it raises some red
They
flags.
flag you.
Let's put it that
Yeah,
way.
yeah.
So
He doesn't really want to be.
exactly. No, that's the type of shit that starts coming up. But so at the time, like I had already kind of had this plan in place that I wanted to go back to school like in Europe, and we started the process. But it's a 2-step process. Not only do you have to do the application through like the U.S. consulate, but you also have to ask permission from the German consulate to be allowed to keep your citizenship.
Oh, interesting.
And
Damn.
believe it or not, like that was actually the tougher part of the two. It happened really quickly on the U.S. side. They were like, okay, cool, you've been here a little over 10 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like we can get that process going, no problem. It took several months to get a decision back from like the German consulate that I would be allowed to keep my German citizenship. And what it would have come down to if they would have said no, then like I wouldn't have gotten my U.S. citizenship.
Yeah.
So
Whoa, sketchy times, man.
yeah.
Well, especially in today's fucking, weather, it's much harder. I feel like, everything is just fucked.
Yeah, you looked out in the nick of time, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, nick of time. Like I've had it since like, almost 2000, like just before 2013 now. So
Okay.
Okay. Hell yeah.
a little bit before, all the shit started going down.
When everything has been turning into shite.
So what did you study in Germany when you were out there abroad?
So I took a little bit of a turn because before going to Germany, I was at SF State. I was doing mechanical engineering. I wanted to follow in the footsteps of my dad.
Oh, you were at SF State?
Yeah,
'Cause I remember you in Santa Barbara also.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
yeah, so
I
it
went
was
to SF
SF
State,
first.
then down to Santa Barbara
Yeah.
because I was chasing friends and having a good time, and I
We
thought
got
like,
wild.
yeah, we
got wild.
got wild. That's for sure.
That Isla Vista boy.
Yeah,
But yeah, like it took me all of like the first 2 weeks at SF State straight out of high school to realize that mechanical engineering is not for me.
All right.
I realized very quickly because the only part of like my dad's job that I saw was, his driving aspect when he's
Right.
testing stuff out, when he's bringing stuff home.
Yeah.
I had no idea about like everything else that it entailed. And I was like, I like driving cars.
And so then when you get to school, you're like, oh, my dad's not the stick.
Right.
No, but it was more about like, I mean, there's a lot of physics and everything that goes into it, which I mean, don't get me wrong, like I enjoy, but I was like, you know what, for college and then for undergrad and then going through that as a master's, I was like, I cannot deal with that. Like it just was not for me. I didn't like that side of it. So when I went to Munich, I switched over to international business and management. Kind of gave me, which would give me, like a broad range on everything.
Yeah.
And so I ended up landing in real estate because my stepdad is heavily involved in real estate, and so is my mother. And I grew up around it like my entire teenage life. So
It's
that
like
was
your
always,
quote unquote calling almost.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
right.
it was like in the back of my mind, the entire time. So that's kind of how I landed in that.
Mhm.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah.
Just sort of the natural progression of things, though. But that's like big of you to recognize almost immediately that path wasn't for you initially, like with mechanical engineering, and then going down that road, because you can fall into that trap, and then all of a sudden you're an accountant in fucking Tustin working for some company, and it's like, I
This
never
shit's
wanted
What am
to
I
do
doing?
this.
What am I doing?
Right.
You know?
And I feel you too, like, especially having both aspects, like, my dad, big into cars, worked for Ford, long time, got me involved in cars. And my mom, graphic designer,
Mhm.
got me involved in graphic design. And then I was like, oh man, like, do I want to go into cars? Do I want to go into design? Like, can I do both? What can I do? Obviously, I chose graphic design.
Because your
So-
art is dope.
But you
But
still
I-
have cars as like the passionate hobby. On this,
Exactly.
you know?
Like, so I feel you where it's like that parental influence of just like, you can be good at this too.
Yeah, no,
Mhm.
definitely. But you know what? Like sometimes it still hits me. So funny story, like about a week and a half ago. So I mean, you guys know I'm I modded and like
We know
what-
your car's sick.
Yeah, but like so I was like chatting on WhatsApp with my dad, and I had sent him a video of like pulling onto a freeway, and I literally just captioned it. I was like, "Yo, good job with this car." And he responded. First off, he goes, the first response was, "Not an M?" question mark.
Oh my
and
God.
then right after that, he dropped a picture. He's like, "This is what I'm riding in around," and it was a picture of like him testing like the new M5 when
Oh,
like a
fuck
few
off.
months ago, and he was doing like max speed, like the tachometer was at like 330 kilometers an hour on the fucking autobahn, and he
Oh
literally
my
like
God.
underneath like said the German equivalent of "step your game up,"
What are you doing with your life,
and I'm
Mike?
like, "Well, shit."
That's like, dude, that's like Pop's ultimate sunning
Yeah,
the sun.
yeah.
Yep.
Mr. Miyagi just fucked up the Karate Kid with one kick to
My
the head.
God.
Yeah, no, exactly. No, I got wiped from the map, and I was like, "Damn, dude, like that kind of stings, but that's still really tight."
It was just no wax on, wax off. It was a switch roundhouse to the face.
All of a sudden, Smokey goes over the top of you. You got knocked the fuck out. yeah. Well, then, so transitioning, like moving forward. So, because I think the time when you came into the fold in my life was when I started showing up at your house in Beverly Hills through these guys. And then it was just like, not high school, but it was like
It was that
It
transition
was like literally
time.
like just post high school and just being like, all right, we don't know if we're gonna do college or this job or
AKA
this.
community
or,
college transfer status.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Poke out a SMC. What's good?
So when did you make the transition sort of to the real estate route? I know it runs in your blood, but not everybody, you know, whose family is into one particular, you know, facet of business falls into that scenario, falls into the fold of that.
Sure. So, I mean, like even before I realized that, like, you know, I was going to sink into real estate, like even out of high school and like throughout college, when I'd be back home, like on breaks or whatever, like I would do a lot of property management stuff for my dad already. And I have to say, property management, I always hated, like just was not my thing. And that's why maybe I also didn't think about like ever pursuing anything in real estate whatsoever. But I realized when I did eventually land there, you know, I was looking back and I was like, yo, you know what? Like I've been doing it in one form or another for years already at that time.
Right. So you have all these like cards in your deck.
Yeah.
Right,
And honestly, like I didn't know it. Like, you know, like when I was coming back for like summer breaks or whatever, and like I'm doing property management stuff for my dad, like I had already had, you know, like some of the experience, at least in that sector of real estate.
Right.
And I didn't even know it.
Interesting. Okay. So then it's like you have this epiphany and you're like, oh, okay, so maybe I just don't like this particular area of real estate.
Right.
So let me sniff over here and find this truffle.
It's like
Exactly.
you were given like the stepping stones in disguise, but like through the process of, you know, going to SF State and figuring out if that was your thing, but not. And you realize this isn't for me. And a lot of people don't get that.
And a lot of
Precisely.
people don't.
No, it's true.
But so like to add even more onto that. So when I was finishing up in Munich and I was getting ready to come back, I actually still at that point, like it hadn't hit me yet, like, hey, maybe do real estate. I had just come back. I was like, I'm probably going to take like a little bit of time, a little bit of a break, figure out what I'm going to do.
Mhm.
And at that time, and this was kind of like my opening into it. So my mother worked for a broker, a German broker, who is like a big advocate on doing like offering 6-month internships
Okay.
to like German studying students, because that's actually a requirement for German studying university students.
Which
Oh,
should
dope.
be applied here in America, but it's not. And it's fucking stupid.
Right.
Just my opinion.
I agree
That's a fair
wholeheartedly.
opinion, though. That's a fair opinion.
But so what ended up happening out of the blue is, you know, my mom hit me up one day and she's like, hey, yeah, so like there's this new intern that had started and she was there for 2 to 3 weeks. Turns out she got on a plane, she flew home. It was her first time like outside of, you know, her home country.
No shit.
And she got super homesick and she's like, yeah, she just got on a plane, she left. And like they're looking for an intern like immediately.
So she just had a bit of a freak out. And then
Totally.
just did.
Yeah.
Totally.
Okay.
But so like that's kind of where I started out, like right after college. Like I slid right into that internship position for, you know, a little bit of a while. And I kind of started to, you know, plant my roots from there.
Oh, cool. And I mean, you fell into the right city as far as the real estate market
Yeah.
is
Real.
concerned, at least at the moment. I feel like LA has always been in the somewhere
Mecca?
surrounding. Yeah.
We're the nucleus of just like dope.
You know, I mean, there's like, I mean, you guys will all know the big cities like in America, like it's New York, it's LA,
Miami.
Chicago.
Yeah.
But the two real big ones in terms of real estate are LA and New York. And
Yeah.
so like during the downturn of, you know, 07, 08, like even though there was a strain felt, like it affected the rest of the country way further
For sure.
Yeah.
than it
Yeah.
did those two cities.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like because the rest of the country, you have, in terms of LA and New York, you have two cities in particular where you have people moving from elsewhere that can afford to buy things outright. Whereas like middle America and other, you know, smaller cities
Trying
like
to move to
St.
LA and
Or
or
live.
like St. Louis or Cleveland or something like that.
Yeah.
You have people moving over there or just trying to make things work. Say they're like a single family home, they have a farm, blah, blah, blah. They're working, you know, nuclear family status. And then 2008 happens and they're like, how am I going to pay this $400 mortgage?
Mhm.
You know, it's like LA, there's never been a true shortage. I think people here probably felt it, but
Don't get me wrong. I mean,
Okay.
like it was definitely felt. So, I mean, speaking on like a personal account, like on the portfolio that I manage for like our family, like we had a decent vacancy rate, like, but not nearly as big of like, other cities. Like, but I will share that we had like a 15 to 20% vacancy rate,
No shit.
like
Okay.
about like throughout the entire portfolio.
Wow.
The thing is though, and what keeps LA and cities like New York alive is like during a turmoil like that, you have a bunch of really hungry investors who are like, hey,
Scoop
yo,
up.
I can scoop up right now
Yeah.
for, pennies on the dollar,
Right.
more or less. And that's like
Wait it out and just
exactly.
have it
Exactly.
become better on.
Yeah. It like as terrible as it sounds, but like,
But it's facts. It's
those
true.
guys
It's
were
real
coming
life.
in. Yeah,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep.
Well, and that's just the nature of the business at that point, right? Like, so
I mean, and now it's doing well. Now the housing market's
Oh,
doing
yeah.
well.
Now it's doing great, but we'll have to see what happens. I have my thoughts and opinions on that and where I see it going. I just it's getting a little bit too familiar. It's starting to look I'm going to say this, it's starting to look like 07, 08 again.
Yeah, with a crash.
But it's like there's going to be a downturn, but it's not going to be nearly like it was back then.
Right.
Like as substantial, but we're heading towards that mark where it's a plausibility, but not as severe.
Absolutely.
I just feel like that everything now has a much shorter half-life than it did 10, 20, going back even further years ago.
Oh yeah.
So now those crashes, or even in relation to the weather, hurricanes, like whatever, it's happening at like that half-life has cut in half somewhat.
Mhm.
So now, you have an economic downturn that transitions at double the speed. So it climbs so fast. And I feel you, because I feel like the LA market right now has been climbing. And I don't know the details of it like you would, but I feel like it's been climbing and now it's slowly reaching a plateau and then it'll dip.
Yeah. It's getting close to that climax moment where things are going to start slowing down.
To be honest with you, I think we're kind of already there. Like we're stagnating a little bit. And the type of listings that I deal with on my team, like we're dealing with, all price ranges, anything from down low to like the super high end. And regardless of where it is, obviously the super high end is going to be in a different category. But overall, what I'm starting to see, like for our listings, they're not flying off the shelves anymore like they were before. And people are starting to get hesitant, buyers mostly, about like, hey, you know what, like, am I really overpaying for this? Like a downturn's going to come. And my rebuttal for that is, and like I've calculated this out, because also interest rates are slowly starting to rise. And one of the big things that I tell people who are like really on the edge of buying currently, they're like, hey, no, like it's already plateaued. Like I don't want to overpay.
Right.
Is, yeah, I can see that one side of it, but also interest rates are climbing. And over, let's say if you're doing like just for example, you're doing a 30-year loan with that climbed interest rate, you end up still paying more over those 30 years. If you end up buying later with the higher interest rate, but a slightly lower price because it's starting to come down, versus
now
paying a bit of a higher price right now.
Right.
And like you put a lot of shit in perspective for me, as far as saying like what a lot of people are doing now, instead of buying homes, they're buying condos and renting those out,
right,
to get like a better kind of like income back for themselves. They're not buying houses, they're buying condos instead, And I think that's really interesting.
Hang on, that can apply to anything. Like there are still people who are just buying single family homes, like just as investments, like to rent them out.
Well, I feel like there's like a fine niche, group of, investments, this doesn't sound terrible, but it's like tobacco, alcohol, real estate, pharmaceuticals.
Yeah.
You can't die from any of those.
No.
It's like,
I think there's a piece of it that almost feels like war profiteering sometimes though.
Well,
Where
I
it's
mean,
like you
especially
have
here in
100
I feel like
America.
you could totally die from
in
tobacco.
America,
That's just
yes.
I'm talking about LA specifically, or any of these real estate, wealthy cities where you have 100 millionaire coming to LA. I'm going to buy up everything and then upcharge everything, and it ends up fucking the market
Well,
up.
that's what's happening in Vancouver, for example.
Yeah.
Right. I just saw a headline with that today. That it's crazy. They're in Toronto, in Canada.
Mhm.
Like, it's so nuts to me.
Yeah.
And same thing was happening in Sydney with wealthy Chinese moving to Australia and building these high rises that were architectural gems, but then charging astronomical prices either to buy condos or to rent them.
Well, it's like they look at the longevity of it. It's an income that can't be destroyed.
Right.
Right.
But so Vancouver, for example, has now imposed a tax. I think it was as of beginning of this year, where if like you're buying it as an investment or it's just like sitting empty and it's not your primary residence, you get like a hefty tax on top of that.
Oh, right.
Where, like and it was in a way supposed to, defer those people, because essentially, like in Vancouver, what it was, a lot of the Asian buyers saw like a prime market, and they all want to get their money out of China,
Right.
and would love to just park it in real estate, which is why this whole epidemic started happening. So the city of Vancouver started imposing this tax. It has slowed things down ever so slightly, but still at the end, like those people are seeing it as like, that's a small price I have to pay to park another few $1,000,000,
Right.
like outside of China.
How does that work with like things like the Palisades getting redone by Caruso?
I wonder, do you think real estate may go up because of the new refurbishments
all
they're
I
doing?
I know.
or-
I feel like real estate's definitely going up. Like that helps everyone in that
All I can
area
say, though-
go up.
Look, all I can say though is I drove past that the other night while they were finishing it up. And what's that street behind where Caruso is?
It's not Swarthmore. Yeah,
when you used to
I know
drive
what you're
that
talking
street
about.
where you
Yeah,
used to
yeah,
drive
yeah.
to our
Are you
homie's
talking about like
condo.
Haverford or?
Whatever that
It's
back.
right behind it.
Anyway,
Yeah, I know what
ladies
you're
and
talking
gentlemen, it's in the Pacific Palisades. It's behind a new big mall development. Same person who did downtown Disney and the Grove in LA and everything else. And the Palisades is meant to be this quaint village community that now has this.
Hype stores.
Well,
like
yeah. Now
Chanel.
it's like
only hype-
monetized. They're
not-
like, hey,
yeah.
how can we make the most money possible? Let's put this whole new foundation.
It's a
in.
high-end mall, but here's the thing. I thought about what you said the other night, where you said like, "Oh, the market must be going up with this being built and
Right.
on the eve of opening and everything." And I had the opposite. I thought I'd be so angry if I had a $10 million house across the street from where that parking lot is, pulling into
you
it.
wouldn't have a $10 million house, so it just doesn't support it.
Okay, so $5 million house then, like right across from it. And I'd be so heated to have that as my view now,
Totally.
where I would have had like, the village green or something that was like more communal feeling rather
Yeah,
than.
but the view didn't change because they didn't build high rise.
And also
they
on that,
only built
these
two
houses aren't
stories.
seeing over it though.
Honestly, I feel like they just emphasized the already persona that was given to the Palisades. It
And
was
also-
this secretive, nice community where people are from
Yeah.
an affluent background, and now they're just making it more. So now they're more publicized in the community.
But it never felt this commercial. Like it
Right.
was mom and pop stores that, when you
It
had,
was like unconscious.
But
Like,
those were
now
the
it's
first to
there.
go. The mom and pops were the first to go.
And then I
as
see
soon
the
as they
one-
raised rent and people couldn't afford it, they had to shut down shop, and that was everyone on that street.
here's
Yeah.
the thing though,
Yeah.
to your point, like if I were living in one of those houses, yeah, absolutely. Like I think I'd probably be a little bit irked. But also on that topic, so I just closed escrow like about a month ago now on a property that's directly behind the fire station.
If it's
Okay.
okay, Mike, can you explain to our viewers what escrow means?
Oh, okay. So escrow in the state of California, in like most other states, it like everything gets handled through attorneys. Like once you have a purchase contract in place, like the attorneys deal with one another. Escrow in California is the neutral middleman that essentially coordinates the transaction, make sure money is held safely and correctly, not released to anybody like without consent from both sides. Make sure all contractual obligations are met, things like that. But so just to go back to this, so and this was about a month or so ago now.
right.
We closed escrow on this basically new, it's a new construction. behind the fire station, which is only a block away from where all this is happening,
Sure. Yeah.
for just under $4 million.
Right.
So like people are still down. Like they're still with it.
It's just so backwards to me for what, I would want if I have a house, that's 2 stories, 4 or 5 bedrooms, a backyard, a front yard, you hope. And then, like beeline, Carter.
Sorry. Clumsy Carter.
And then like 15 feet away is the valet stand.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
I'd be
100%.
so mad. Like, dude, I would just, you didn't tell me this was going up when I bought this motherfucker. All right, I'm out. Like,
100%.
Yeah.
Well, so here's the other thing though. I mean, that thing has been going up for
3+ years now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
This could be done in
I
a
mean,
week.
well, actually, so
Really, a week?
So it's
a week now?
Yeah.
actually, it's already
Oof.
done. They had the VIP,
Yes.
open
Remy
tonight.
was there.
Soft opening?
Remy was there.
Oh,
They
is
had
that
a
what he went
soft-
to?
They had a
Yeah.
soft
Shouts out
opening
Remy.
tonight, and it's going to be open starting this weekend.
So here's my problem that I have with it. One of them being the stores they chose, like Chanel, or the
Well, it's honestly literally like what you were just talking about. Like it started as like this small community of being kind of private from an affluent background, but now we're trying to make our way into like acting like it's Beverly Hills.
and they said they would do no mom and pop shops.
Mhm.
They would only do
They're going to do the same
Big
stores that the
stores,
Grove has, bro.
like
Yeah.
Blue Ribbon Sushi. Or
No, they're
like,
going to do fucking Katsuya, which will
So-
put Pearl Dragon out
Oh
of
no,
business.
straight up.
It's
they're
going to
doing
be the
Blue Ribbon
Grove's
Sushi.
doppelganger.
Blue Ribbon Sushi.
That's
I
what
don't
it's
even
going
know
to
what
be.
that is.
So like they're doing that. They're doing like this bistro. They're doing like Giorgio's or some shit for Italian. Like they're doing all this stuff. But I will say the one store I really appreciated that they added right at the corner of Sunset and Swarthmore, the sign got revealed. Amazon Books.
I saw that.
Wow.
And I'm kind of hyped for that because I feel like bookstores are so dead.
Right.
Yes,
that
it's
I was
pretty
really
much like a dying
glad
culture now.
that they're kind of integrating modern technology with this. Like they're providing a bookstore where you can get your shit online and you can go in person, pick up the books you want. Like I like that. I like that you can go there for that.
But also, like Amazon Books is doing it at a price that is decent for
That's why they're
For
on the
the
corner.
community.
That's why they're right on the corner. You
right.
know?
And so, like, I feel like, and this is a like great topic that you brought up. Like, I feel like why a lot of bookstores also started failing.
Yeah.
Like the big ones we know, Barnes and
Noble.
Noble, like,
Borders.
yeah,
Borders.
exactly.
Yeah.
Are because like, hey, you know what?
R.I.P.
But it's also like it
RIP.
is Amazon undercutting them like a motherfucker.
Mhm.
Like, why would I buy the book in store for $40 when I can get it on Amazon for $23?
Well,
Which I'm fine with. I got stock in Amazon, so more power to them.
My
It's all
man.
good. It's all good.
no, I mean, Amazon crushed a lot of physical commerce by being able to lower prices, sourcing from, multiple
Mattress
outlets.
Yeah, well, a lot of their workers, come from different international countries, and their laws and regulations for production are much different compared to here in America,
Right.
where it's unfortunately cheaper, and they're going through a lot of rigorous bullshit. If you want my honest opinion on it,
Yeah.
No, totally. 100%. And it's weird in this day and age. I feel like it's morally wrong, but it's also hard to avoid being a company of that stature.
yeah. Well, they hit
Yes.
the trillion mark. Was it not too long ago?
Yeah.
Right.
A couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
Numero
so
dos.
they're up there.
I was hyped. I was super hyped.
So speaking of $1 trillion companies, a couple weeks before that, it was Apple, and I don't know if any of you guys
Watched the keynote?
caught the keynote.
Dude,
I-
the most boring shit ever.
I
Worst.
actually
Worst.
didn't catch the keynote.
Garbage.
But like I was like catching some highlights, and there was one comment that Tim Cook like dropped off on like the price of the iPhones, like trying to make
It's
it more
standard.
affordable, but like still so like we can make a buck or like something along
No,
those
dude,
lines. And I'm
no.
like, yo, dude, like you guys are a like $1 trillion company, and like you guys are telling me about like still like trying to make a buck. Like
I'm pretty sure Google beat y'all with having the most affordable phone that's a smartphone.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very true.
So a coworker of mine just got the new iPhone, or he pre-ordered or whatever the fuck.
What, the XR
What, the X?
or the
The,
XS?
the
What?
XS.
Yeah.
Like the
dude,
big,
that's the
big
next
one.
thing. XR
Oh, the
XS
Max?
is starting to sound like a fucking car.
I'm just waiting
Dude.
to have like an algebra algorithm
That's why
for
the-
my cell phone.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Then that's why the keynote was so boring to me. Sorry to cut you off, JKen.
No worries.
Yeah, same. That's my bad.
He totally cares.
I care so much.
Yeah.
All I
Yeah.
want to say was that when I asked my homie, my coworker, how much his phone was, he was like, I don't know, it was around $1,200. $1,200 for a fucking cell phone that's going to be obsolete in a year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dude.
So it actually even goes further up from that. Like the plus sized,
The Max.
X, I don't know what it's
XS
called, the
Max.
Max, whatever.
Yeah.
512 gigabyte comes out to like $1,500. It's
That's
like,
my
dude, like
That's a full-on computer.
yeah,
I
exactly.
can't
Like,
justify that. Not for something that's going to only last me a year.
I don't have a kid right now, but I'll have kids to feed. God damn it.
Here's the thing though. So like this year I'm not going to upgrade. Like I have the X, like it does everything that I need to and more. And like I just don't see any need in having to upgrade it.
I'm still rocking a 6S Plus, dude.
I have
Yeah,
a
dude,
6.
you got to upgrade.
No, dude, I'm
Yeah,
fine.
see,
It
like
does everything I need.
I've always been the type of person whenever it comes to like cell phone purchases, like I buy outright. So I would just flat out like $700, and I would buy it when the new generation is, produced to the market. And then they do like a marker down where it's not $1,200-$1,300 fucking dollars.
Sure. But let me play devil's advocate for a second because, like the general consensus is like, hey, yeah, buy outright. But at the same time, like if you were to opt for
The lease plan.
the monthly thing.
Yeah, that's
So-
what I do. That's
So
what I
there's
do.
actually 0% interest on it.
Yep.
So
It depends on the service though, doesn't it?
no.
Depending
No,
on
man.
Verizon,
No, they
No,
don't.
AT&T.
it's
No,
all
no,
the
no,
same.
no.
They make the
It's
contracts
all
the same.
0% interest. So everything that you're paying for the phone every month,
Mhm.
like literally just gets applied to the principal balance of the phone. There's
the new
absolutely
phone,
zero
yeah.
interest.
Okay.
So again, to play devil's advocate, I mean, doesn't matter either way, however you stand, but would you rather shell out the $700, $800, $900 in bulk right away? Or are you going to
$30
do like,
a month.
yeah, exactly.
That's
well,
what I
I
do.
do the
I can
shell
see both
because-
sides to it,
Yeah,
honestly. I can see both sides
I
to it.
personally don't get a new phone until like every like 3 years.
Well, now it's like
So it's like I don't have that constant monthly
I got
you.
hit up because I already pay for a lot of other monthly services. And so for me, it's like for my cell phone or like, my computer, the necessities for today's market when it comes to like job professionalism, I just buy outright. I don't have that in the back of my mind because I have the job right now to pay for all the other shit I
Sure.
need in my life.
Right.
yeah, it's a weight off your mind.
Exactly.
You know.
No, I hear you. I mean, and this is the plus side of your side. If you end up, just purchasing it outright, your bill is $40-$50 a month
Less.
cheaper than somebody else's.
Yeah.
And you have the option to sell it whenever the fuck you want.
Exactly.
Well, so here's the thing. I mean, even if you like have the plan, you can still sell it whenever you want.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You
with the
just have
monthly
to-
service because they have that.
You just have to pay off whatever is still owed on the phone, and if there's any profit, then
Like,
that
yeah,
goes
I
in your
could
pocket.
still lease a phone and then sell it, and I would just still be paying the monthly fee on it,
No, I
Yeah.
mean, you
Well-
can pay it off like at any
But,
point.
yeah, no. Yeah, if I
Fully.
want to pay it off fully, yeah, 100%. But, that was the thing. I went in. Here's the funny thing. At AT&T, they kept charging me. After I had called them, they were like, you have like 1 or 2 months left. I forget what they told me. I was like, okay. And then I paid for like that 1 or 2 more months, the $30 per month. And then my next bill came, same price. I went into AT&T, sat around, thumbing my ass for like an hour waiting. And I was like, yo, like, I'm pretty sure I've paid this phone off, but my bill is the same. And then the guy who was working at AT&T was like, I don't understand why you're still paying that. That's very strange.
Right.
Let me fix that for you. Now my cell phone bill is $30 less a month.
Right.
And I'm like, dude, do you guys just do this to everyone? Like, do you
Dude,
guys
see
just not
that's
even...
the thing. Big corporations, like it's not only AT&T. The one horror story, like, so I'm a big advocate of like browsing Reddit and stuff. Like, it's
Right.
I browse
we
around
all
all
are.
things.
Oh yeah, that's a
And,
that's a
and
rabbit
there's
hole.
obviously general hatred of like Comcast on that site.
Mhm.
But like the amount of horror stories that I've read on Reddit of people returning their modems, still getting charged, or they stop getting charged, and then 6 months later, all of a sudden Comcast hits them up and is like, because their account went to collections, for not returning equipment when it has been returned is like it's absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely.
That just that just harks to the point of autonomy sort of fucking up general customer service today, where everything is automated and you have systems trying to red flag things automatically, and then you're relying on employees to check the right box when somebody goes to return their equipment and things like that.
It doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah, because they get paid shit. So it's like it's this weird cyclical thing of.
That's the thing. If y'all are still paying for your iPhone 6, you should go into AT&T or wherever the fuck you're buying your phone and double check your shit.
Well, you want to hear something crazy? There's a stat.
I don't.
I'd love to hear that. Please tell me.
Thanks, man. Every day looking at me like,
shut up, bitch.
But no, like, there's still, I think it was some crazy stat. It's like 15,000 people still pay monthly for AOL that don't.
Holy shit. I thought AOL was
It is.
Wow.
RIP.
That's
for
terrible.
real.
That's
no, but people don't realize it. They just
that's what trips me out about the monthly
like $6 a month
services
for the last 10 years.
Yeah.
If you're not meticulous on your financial scenario, it's like you could be getting charged for a monthly service on like, let's say like the membership you had with like PlayStation when it was PlayStation 2 in 1995 and you're still getting charged
for Phantasy Star Online.
It's like, yo, what?
Unless they did some kind of grandfather, which would be dope, where if you bought it at whatever price for PlayStation 2 and that carried over into PlayStation Now.
You remember when companies used to do that? You remember when AT&T, you could be grandfathered in for unlimited, and then they ended unlimited for a while. Now they brought it back. Because they had to.
I'm still
on
where
technology went.
Not unlimited.
You're on set data?
I'm on 4 gigs a month.
What?
Well, look at you.
Yeah.
Wait, what service are you with?
AT&T.
Dog, get the fuck out of that.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, I still pay less than I would pay on any other group. Trust me, I've looked it up. It's just, I can't get unlimited data for more. I would have to be paying more.
You'd be paying more for the unlimited data, even though
and realistically, everywhere I go has fucking Wi-Fi.
Yeah,
dude,
you know?
That's true. Remember that time I visited from Australia for like those 6 days? I was like, I'm not going to get a SIM card. I'm not going to do any of that. So I just literally went off free Wi-Fi in the city and my mom's Time Warner Wi-Fi spot. Dude, didn't need it the whole time. It was beautiful.
It's fine.
But it's also the other thing is like unlimited data nowadays is not unlimited anymore.
What?
Like all those plans that you're seeing advertised and they're like, oh, unlimited data, like it's back, whatever.
If you check them, most of them will say in the fine print, like
they all say that
20 gigs.
Yeah, and once you hit 20 gigs, they start.
Then you get upcharged after the 20 gigs.
No, you won't get upcharged, but they'll throttle you.
And realistically, 20 is a lot. 20 is a lot of data on a cell phone.
20 is for a month.
But if you're on the hub all fucking day, I know y'all know what the hub is. If you're on the hub all fucking day, like it's gonna eat at your fucking data. Like
no, but games
even.
Well, I'm on Sprint, and I don't think Sprint. They may throttle your data. I'm not sure on that, but at least they stay pretty true to it. But what they don't offer on iPhones, for example, is they've disabled even the setting for a personal hotspot.
That would be a big problem for me. So like, and I don't even have the unlimited plan. I'm on Verizon. Like I've got a solid amount of gigs a month. But so with any type of data plan that Verizon offers, personal hotspot is included, which is also really important for me. Because like if I'm out at a property, whether it's for an inspection or appraisal or whatever, like I can sometimes be there for like a few hours, and these properties usually don't have any sort of internet connection.
Right. That makes sense.
Meanwhile, I'm like my job still continues on. You know, I'm doing transaction management for every single agent on our team, so I'm expected to still be reachable, send out shit for signature, things like that. So like I'll connect my laptop to my phone on a hotspot.
Wait, so what do you do when you're doing a showing in like the hills and there's no reception?
So here's the thing. So I actually don't do showings.
Okay, my bad.
Yeah, so the way our team is set up, so we have a total of about 7 people on staff, and we have about 15 agents, and we're growing in terms of agents a lot recently.
Mhm.
So our staff team is split up like this. So I do transaction management. So in transaction management, I am the guy who, anytime we get an initial offer on something, I help negotiate it. I try to make it happen, get it accepted. And from that point on, like, we open escrow and I run it through, like, I manage the entire thing from beginning to end. But there's an entire different part to it too. You got to bring properties to market. You got to do showings. You got to blast it out to like different outlets.
Yeah, you have to present it and sell it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we have a listings team, which is made up of a couple of people. We got a listings director, and like somebody who works underneath her. We've got 2 in-house, like, on our team marketing people that handle all of our marketing before it even goes to like our brokerage's marketing team.
Oh, gotcha.
And then so we have a few showing assistants from there. And showing assistants are like, if nobody on listings is available, they'll show a property. On top of that, like, I have access to them. Like, for example, like if there's a property that I can't be at for an inspection or appraisal or whatever, and they're available, then I'll send them.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of how our stuff is split up. But yeah, like, I don't touch showings. That's just not my thing at all.
Sure.
I'm the guy who, like, once we have an offer, tries to make it happen. And
The wizard
gets
behind the curtain.
Nah, you're giving me too much credit.
No, but I mean, yeah, I didn't even know the chain of command as far as how real estate goes to that aspect.
Well, I mean, we're a rare breed, this team.
Oh,
So,
really? Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are obviously other real estate teams, but the brokerage community is really, really small. And, like, you start to really get to know all of the big players, let's say.
I feel like that could get feisty eventually. Like,
Oh, it totally
Like,
does.
ugly.
But also, like, from what I've heard, where I'm at currently is one of the most really organized and put together places.
Oh,
like,
cool.
In terms of teams,
nice.
that like people know of.
There you go. Yeah, it's,
Oh, yeah.
it's nice to have an honorable reputation, especially in that industry. Because I feel like most people going to buy a house, in a way,
Or a condo.
it's like,
Or apartment.
it's like
Or land, or like commercial
Surface area.
anything. We do it all.
Any kind of area.
Yeah, well,
We
it's like,
do it all, baby.
it's like that expression, like, it's hard to find a good mechanic. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It's same thing. It's hard to find a good real estate agent or broker.
And that's one of the reasons why I obviously, even without knowing you, how much I trust you as far as the professional aspect goes, is when our friends have kind of like not even asked you, but just talked about their struggles with trying to find a place to live, you've given really good insight as to how to help them. Like, for people who couldn't find a place to live, they're like, I have the money, I have the funds, I even have the credit, but for whatever reason, they're still getting denied on these
Mhm.
apartments in LA. You came at an approach that I had never heard of, they had never heard of, and you were basically like, you know what? Offer to put 2-3+ months down in advance
If you can.
if you
If you
can.
can, yeah.
If you can. And you know what? It fucking works, dude.
Mhm.
Because these fucking landlords or whoever the fuck, property managers or whoever, who are just seeing like, yo, they're offering 2-3+ months in advance.
I mean, they speak
which is
green.
fine because, then you won't have to pay X amount of months, which is great. You can not worry about that. And it is a big chunk out of your pocket.
But it
that'll
gives
get you
an
the spot,
incentive.
dude.
It gives you incentive to be like, I'm
Exactly.
serious.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and you know
Serious.
what? They're gonna be like, for them, it's just like, yo, we can make that much more money in one go about. Let's fucking do it. Like,
Yeah.
Not only that, but like also as a landlord, when like a prospective tenant approaches you like that, you also know that the biggest fear as a landlord, and I'm speaking as one myself, is that whatever new tenant like you put in, at one point or another, all of a sudden is not going to be able to pay rent anymore.
Right.
And like the process of getting somebody out in that situation
It's so
is
crazy.
extremely difficult, and I've dealt with it. But so like as a landlord, like it's something like that is super refreshing, because not only, like, let's just call it hypothetically, somebody puts up 6 months of rent for a 1-year lease. It shows me, first off, that they have that capital to even do that.
Right.
Mhm.
Like,
But-
and that takes mad capital.
But
Yeah.
also on top of that, it shows me if they have that capital to even offer that, then they're going to be fine on paying their rent after that.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, here's
Because you're looking at the longevity of it, being like, hey, if you got the capital, then I know you're going to be around, and this isn't
Exactly.
going to be an issue when
100%
it comes to
agree with you.
payment.
well, and then,
100% agree with you.
and then just playing devil's advocate to that point, though, saying that that they have the capital to support themselves after that 6 months. Say that that they're boasting and they put up 6 months cash, towards a new place to lock down a place, and then 6 months comes around. Is it also the thought, on your perspective, to say, worst case scenario, they come to us a month before that 6 months has passed and say, yo, I really can't afford this.
So,
And then it's like, then you can still find it and you still had it covered.
so typically speaking, I've actually never seen a situation like that happen. And the reason why, whether you're a prospective tenant or you're making an offer to purchase,
Mhm.
part of what you're required to show and verify to the other party is proof of funds.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Of course.
Like it doesn't happen blindly. Like also, if you're renting, like you fill out an application, like you say, whatever your income is, whatever, and you provide proof of funds with that.
Right.
And like, obviously, like those people get vetted. Like maybe this guy just won the lottery and he's on his last
that's
50
what
grand or
that's
something.
what I'm thinking.
Right. But
Right.
like that's how those people get, diluted. And on an offer to purchase, same thing. So
Sure.
any offer that you throw out to purchase, you have to include proof of funds. And if you're getting a loan, a pre-approval letter from your lender.
And I gotta say, that's what I love about today's age of modern technology. As a graphic designer,
Oh, you're foul.
I'm just saying it works. It works. I can literally Photoshop my income on my statements.
Don't tell me you're speaking from experience.
Oh, for sure, I'm speaking from experience. Are you kidding me?
Here's the thing, though. I mean, sure, valid point, but I'll rebut that immediately
playing a dangerous game.
and say that
I still make rent.
I know you do.
I still make rent.
shit. But like, but like on these types of things, also like for rental properties, typically like people will supply me with bank statements.
Yeah.
And I can call up your bank and be like, hey, I'm just doing a verification check.
That's
Mm.
fine.
Jane's like, I pray you don't do that.
But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. The times I've done it for like my
Yeah.
current place now, like,
Sure.
I did not, I knew that they would not call my bank. I knew that for a fact.
And typically
no problem doing
speaking, like in a lease situation, I can't say that
I would never do it for a home.
that I would either. Like in a home purchase situation, like
That's something you might want to check.
even if
Just
there's
a
a lender
smidge.
involved, but especially if somebody's coming to me with an all cash deal and they're like giving me proof of funds that has like, 8 million plus in the account or something.
Right.
Like they usually also include a letter from, their private banker
Mhm.
and they have their information at the bottom. And I'll just give a quick call like, hey, yo, just got this offer. Just want to verify. Can you please confirm?
I just did double. I was
It's
smart. I
always
stuck
about
with
the
double.
longevity of
Just
it,
stuck
making
with-
sure that
Yeah.
whomever is the buyer is able to support whatever the lease is being held. You
Right.
know, it's like if
Yeah.
you don't have those funds, I'm not going to give you shit.
Of course. Why would they? Too high of risk.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I don't know. Yeah. If I was somebody, I would be so thorough. Like JKen, you would have gotten fucked. I would have called the bank. I would have like ran your social.
But just for a fucking 1-year lease.
I'm talking about me personally. I would never want to be a landlord or a real estate
No,
agent.
but that's what I'm
trying
saying.
to do
I
that
only would
background.
do it for small term things like a 1-year lease.
Right. Sure.
Like that's why I don't have a problem with it. Obviously, if I was doing a home, it's a little different.
Yeah, stakes are raised.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I mean, it's still, I mean, like you said, like for a rental, chances are I'm probably not gonna,
If you
do
know
that
I
shit.
have a job in the area and it's dual income, you don't really need to worry.
Well, the other thing
Yeah.
is too, like for rentals, we run credit checks.
That's fine.
Mhm.
And I got that checked and I had great credit. So,
Sure, but like for somebody who like maybe is,
Miserable credit.
spoofing those numbers, for example, even if I don't check into that and their credit report comes back.
credit check's too easy. That's why I
Yo,
wouldn't fake that.
Can I send you a screenshot of my Credit Karma?
Yeah, no. Dude, and it's funny you say that because 9 out of 10 times that's what I get sent
No
along
shit.
with
Yo,
applications.
100%. 100%. Dude, when
And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like like we're gonna run our own credit check, like that, like
Yeah.
we're gonna do it ourselves.
Was it like Experian and all those other?
So
there's like the three main.
The Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax.
Yeah.
and that's what Tori's roommate did when Tori was looking for a roommate back in Palms.
Oh, yeah. I remember those
Mhm.
days.
She had a roommate come who was the best out of all of them. And she literally brought a bio on herself and brought printed out forms from her
Previous places that she was at, or
No,
job descriptions, history.
her credit scores.
Okay.
Brought printed versions of her credit scores over all the different platforms
Mhm.
to provide the landlord. And I was
Mhm.
like, damn, you came prepared. And then in the back of my head, I was like, what if she's a Photoshop expert?
What if she's a serial killer?
She could have just
What?
Photoshopped that shit.
I'm
Yeah.
saying what if she has her finances in order and then I just like to kill people on the weekends?
Well, I mean, that's just, hey,
That's an extreme way of looking at
if you
things.
watch
But yeah,
that
no.
movie I told you about, Summer of '84,
I know I still have to watch it.
every serial killer has a neighbor.
It's always the quiet ones.
That's just a fact. That's just a fact. And everyone's like, oh, no. They would never do that. They would never do. Guess what? Every fucking serial killer has a neighbor.
That's
Yeah.
true. Like,
Well,
what
not even that. It's like, I mean, I've been watching a lot of like horror flicks. I'm a huge fan. But
We know.
yeah,
we know.
even
Shouts
looking
out.
Yo,
statistically,
how many times before you get into this? How many times have you tried to like? And some of it has been trying to trick me into watching a fucking horror flick.
That's a true fact. Like,
and
I know
by,
you don't
and
like
by
them.
the way, for any listeners out there, I fucking
He
hate
hates.
horror flicks.
It's like the minute Lionsgate comes on the screen, Mike's just like,
Yeah,
fuck this.
Lionsgate.
Oh my god, I gotta go.
Blum-
Something came up.
Blumhouse, is this the Purge? Oh, it ain't the Purge. Get the fuck out of here.
no, I
Walks
remember this one time I was kicking my spot. We're all meeting up, and Mike rolled through my door, and I had the new rendition of It playing on my TV.
That wasn't
fuck
that.
no.
And
That
it
wasn't that
was
scary.
Dude, I don't care.
it
Have you
was,
seen
it
the
was
original one?
It was haunting.
the original
the new-
one, dude.
they were both
I mean, for
haunting.
me, it's like these are two different generations telling the same story. You know, and with
Yeah.
the old generation, if you lived with it, it does seem haunting. And with the new generation, also, it could be just as haunting.
Yeah, I
it depends
agree.
on the lens that you're seeing it
I
through.
agree.
That's
I think
fair.
as a
fair.
kid, the younger version
good point.
scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe
yeah,
afraid
you were
of-
also a kid.
I was a kid.
No, but it also has to do with Tim Curry playing it how scary well
Fair.
that he did.
Yeah, he had a very maniacal sense with his rendition of Pennywise. It was gnarly, but if you weren't in that era, you know, it's not going to hit you as gnarly as the new one.
I've tried to show it to friends just who had never seen it, and they're my age now, and they're like, "This is so stupid." Like, I laugh more than I'm scared. I'm like, well,
All right.
as a child watching this,
Fucking traumatizing.
haunting.
Yeah.
Dude, what fucked me up was the original Scream back when I was like a little
yo,
child.
let's
Oh
go.
yeah, for sure. I thought
Not even gonna lie,
I
man.
thought that's what high school was like when I was
Dude,
a kid.
that shit fucked me up. That probably set me up for failure on all horror movies moving forward.
I was like, these people look way too old for that.
Well, they were supposed to be in high school, right? In Scream.
College.
College.
Oh, was it
yeah.
college?
That was like,
I thought it was like just.
I don't
the
even
old-
remember. I don't care to remember. Like, I don't want to
College.
recall that dark time in my life.
So Mike's that bad with horror movies. All right.
Dude, yeah, no, I don't fuck with them.
Yo,
Okay.
throw on oh, what was it that freaked us out?
Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game. Have you seen Gerald's Game on
Gerald's
Netflix?
Game is gnarly.
Oh,
Is it
Wait,
a horror
You
movie?
did not watch
No,
it.
I did.
Then no,
I,
I haven't
I
seen it.
finally watched it.
You watched it?
I finally watched it because you guys were
Watched
telling us
it.
like how
Oh,
gnarly
he
it
wasn't
was.
there. Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
Carter
no,
wasn't
no, no.
there.
Okay,
And
wait,
I
so
did.
you watched
and
this?
It was it definitely hit some sore spots where I was like, ugh, but like, I don't know. Like, it really depends on
Stephen King, baby.
It's like, it depends on how the film's made. You know, there's those that really recognition the idea of like, you know, shock scare, where it's like really graphic images in your face with a 3-second
porn,
split,
right,
like,
some shit.
or it's like,
it went psychological. Though.
I think it
Yeah.
went super psychological.
oh, completely.
I
And
was not expecting that.
It's the
it's-
movies that are really visceral about
Watch
it. The
it,
ones
people.
that can really get in your mind,
Just
that
Netflix.
freak you
Just-
out.
What is this movie called again?
Okay, it's,
Gerald's Game.
Yeah.
Great. So
on
just
Netflix.
based off of your guys' explanation, definitely never fucking watch
Okay.
it.
See, this is how Jake and I fucked up the game just now for everybody. We should have just told everybody to watch the trailer because they wouldn't have known.
Yeah, you still wouldn't know.
That's the beauty of it.
Oh, really? So you're trying to pull a Carter? Like I came over one night and he's
Yes.
like, "Oh no, yeah, just watch the movie." And I'm
Yes.
like 5 minutes into it, I'm like, "Is this a horror flick?" He's like, "Maybe."
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds about right.
That sounds like what we do to our friends.
Yeah.
Yeah,
included.
thankfully, I live down the hill. Like I didn't go out of my way, but like,
Where it's
I'm
not-
going home now.
where it'll be nice and quiet and you can get out of your car all alone on a dark street.
Make it
Dude,
sound like he's gonna get raped or something.
dude, we're in Bel Air, man. Nothing's gonna happen to me.
Hey, OJ killed his wife. Like
That was Brentwood, all right. Like,
Allegedly.
JKen's the last dude on earth saying allegedly.
Are
to
you
that shit.
serious?
No, dude, that shit is proven guilt pretty
That's
much at
because
this
he was my
point.
neighbor when it happened.
What?
Yeah.
Wait,
Oh,
hang on.
shit.
You got to go into
Wait,
this
you were
real
on
quick.
Rockingham?
Yeah. No, I was on Amherst, which was
Oh, yeah, okay.
perpendicular, like right up the street.
What a trip.
Yeah.
Damn.
Damn. So you know what's a trip about that? Is that would mean that when I was going on play dates with my best friend Rory until I was like 3,
Oh,
you
play
lived like
dates.
across
Do
the
you
street.
remember these play
My
dates
play
until you were
date.
3?
He touched my willy. Like,
Okay. I never said any of that. You
okay.
jumped to mad conclusions.
Yeah,
there.
you know what, JKen? Maybe lay off the tequila a little bit, okay?
oh my God.
I thought it was gloriously
I
funny.
was touched by an angel.
Scoutmaster
Rory ain't
Scott.
No angel.
No, but you know, and sort of like wrapping up the real estate conversation, Mike, like where can our LA listeners like, you know, seek knowledge and help? Like if they're in the market, so to
Yeah,
speak.
like where's the first place someone goes when they're ready to do something? Like, is there
Yeah,
a website
if you're
you
looking
even
for an
recommend
apartment,
rent?
a home, a condo,
Yeah.
whatever real estate, what is the best platform to look at?
Sure. Absolutely. I mean, rentals are tough. And the reason why is so, in terms of having an agent involved, in terms of rentals, like you're probably not really going to see one involved until like $5-6 grand a month and up.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, what I always recommend is scour like apartments.com. Zillow, I'm not a fan of for multiple reasons. Also, believe it or not, Craigslist, like if you're getting like a 2-bedroom apartment, like you can, or 1-bedroom apartment, even studio, anything. That's kind of like really your best avenue. Outside of that, hey, maybe you're good friends with me and I can give you some further advice.
there you go.
But you know, I back you up on that. I found my 1-bedroom apartment. It's huge. It's 1,000 square feet. It's in Brentwood,
It's nice.
and I found it on Craigslist.
There you go.
You
There
know?
you go.
And I kind of realized like maybe it's landlords or whatever, but sometimes people want to save money because I think it does cost them money to post on apartments.com or no? it free?
I'm sure there's like a little bit of a fee.
Like, yeah, and obviously it's free on Craigslist. So obviously I found my shit.
Right,
I
but
know
frankly
they're cheap as
speaking, like
fuck.
apartments.com, for example, you're gonna have much more exposure. That's like if I'm like
100%.
if I'm selling my car and I pay $40 or whatever it is to post it on Auto Trader.
And it's funny too because when I found my unit at first, I found it only on Craigslist. I scheduled an appointment. I looked at it. We filled out the paperwork and shit. And I think like a day or two later, I did find it on apartments.com. And apartments.com actually provided more photos than Craigslist. And that's just like, I don't know if a lazy factor or what.
No,
But-
because Craigslist actually only allows you to post so much stuff.
I know, but they only posted like 4
Okay,
on
all right.
Craigslist,
That-
and then they
that- that's
posted
a
like
laziness
10
factor.
on apartments. And I was like, oh, okay. Now I can get like a better view of what's there, even though I already went the first day. But, still. And I was happy, dude. I was happy with Craigslist. I bought a motorcycle off Craigslist. Like, I get it. It's a little shadier.
It's
there
totally
are a lot of
shady.
scammers.
Yeah.
Yo, by the way, for the people listening that use Craigslist to purchase shit or rent apartments, look at the URL. Because the URL will tell you a lot.
That's
as
true.
far as like, you know
That's
what I'm
true.
saying? Like, it'll tell you, like, sometimes you'll find stuff that says on the maps that it's in West LA or Brentwood or whatever, but the URL will say the Valley or El Segundo, and you're like, what the hell? Those are usually scammers. Those are fake ones because they're posting it from El Segundo and they're posting shit for rent in Brentwood, and it's like, that's fake, dude.
100%. But also to add on to that really quick, just in general for any website, when you're ever putting in any sort of data, always check the URL. If all of a sudden the link that you clicked to get to like payment info and the URL has
Non-secure.
changed and
red
that little
flag.
padlock isn't there anymore,
Non-secure site.
red motherfucking flag. And to circle back really quick and answer your questions in terms of purchasing a home, where do you start looking? At that point, my recommendation is do try to pick up an agent.
Right.
Because not only do they have access to, the entire broker feed,
Yep.
which is called the MLS.
Huge.
Honestly, don't trust Zillow. But also like depending on which broker or agent you decide to go with, they may also have access to properties that are off market
Facts. Very true.
through other brokers who are in the brokerage community. So there's multiple ways to go at it. And the best thing about being a buyer is and this is actually always a big plus point, and a lot of buyers don't realize this. So you as a buyer, if you're purchasing a home, you're not paying your agent's commission. It is the seller's obligation to pay your commission from
Oh,
your
shit.
proceeds.
I didn't realize that.
I didn't know that
I thought
either.
that
Yeah.
was the owner's responsibility.
Exactly.
I'm sorry. I thought it was the person selling. I thought it
It
was
was
their
like
responsibility.
No. So especially for a property that's listed on market, it's a seller's responsibility. There is an agreement called a buyer's rep agreement, which is super it's pretty rare. And the only time I really advise of trying to get one of those signed by your buyer is if you've been showing them around for 6 months, a year, even more. And they're wishy-washy, but you're kind of wasting your time. At that point, try and get one of those signed. And that would say that, your commission is due to you if they were to ever close on something.
Wait, but how does that work when you and I talked about housel renting and we talked about percentages? How does that work if someone rents the place? How does that work as far as a commission that you make?
You mean if somebody's renting a place and you have one of these
I own the house. I own the house.
You own the house.
I want to rent it out. You're going to be managing that. How do I?
I manage the rental, not the property.
Correct.
So it's
Okay.
separating the differentials on payment. Is that what you're asking? Who
Selling on renting.
So
it.
so
Just
Okay.
to find a renter.
you're asking so if somebody came to me and they're a landlord and they want to list their property for lease.
I want to
Mhm.
list my property for lease. How does this work for you as far as what you get paid?
Right.
Because it's not a fixed percentage where I'm selling the house, you get 10, 15, whatever percent.
Mhm.
They're renting. So how
Right.
does that work?
So it's still a fixed percentage.
Mhm.
I'm not going to say industry standard, but what we usually do on leases. So if I'm representing a landlord and we're bringing a property to market to lease, okay, we
Mhm.
sign a lease listing agreement that states we make X percent once the property leases, okay.
And what is that percentage based off of?
So, and this is just what we do. So, for leases, we do 6% of the total lease term.
okay, so if it's 36 months and it's X amount, you take 6%
Exactly.
of that.
So,
36 months.
a standard lease agreement is 12 months. So, let's say your property, I lease it for $5,000. $5 grand times 12, 60 grand.
And you take 6% of that.
No, so the 6% total, if there's another agent involved, typically speaking, the industry standard, like that, if we run it like on market,
Right.
is 2.5 to 3% to the other side, and the
Okay.
difference would go to the listing agent. So
Okay.
So how does that work though? Like who pays you that? Is that the landlord
It's the
that
landlord.
gives you a cut of the rent basically?
so what happens is
So you still make a monthly income
no.
on
It's
Oh,
not.
okay.
It's not a monthly income. It's a lump sum. So once you have a lease agreement signed, there's moving costs. Okay, so there's usually 2 months security deposit
right,
plus your first month's rent.
right,
If you have a pet deposit,
right.
maybe something like that on
Yeah,
top,
yeah.
and all of a sudden the landlord has a chunk.
He
He's
gives that chunk to I
Not-
never
not-
knew that.
not the
crazy.
chunk,
No,
but
no,
he
but
gives
a
whatever percentage that we're
percentage of-
due. He cuts his check off of that
Off
first
of
move.
the- Oh
move-in
my
fee.
god, that
Mm.
makes so much sense. I never realized that, dude. Okay, good to know.
So that's
Good
how
to
the leases work.
know.
And I have to say, like, I'm not a big fan of leases in terms of like transaction management. To be honest with you, I've dealt with purchases of 15, 20, 25 million plus that are easier than getting a little dinky fucking lease together.
But see, that makes
Mhm.
sense at that point because anybody that's serious about buying a 15, 20, $25 million spot is going to be serious about wanting to close that deal, you
Yeah.
hope,
Mhm.
with mild wiggle room.
Well, I mean, that's some serious cheddar.
with-
shit.
No,
Yes.
but what I mean by that is
Fucking
like
shit.
those types of people, like obviously, like that is still a lot of cheddar, and there are a lot of questions and a lot of things
Sure.
that that
Of
need to
course.
get
Dude, that's an
answered.
investment
Mhm.
for anyone.
Oh yeah.
But like it's manageable. Like I hate to say it, but like, and I don't mean to judge anybody by this, but I feel like at that level, like people are much more level-headed. If that's not like fucked up to
I
say.
see what perspective
Oh,
you're
yeah, I
coming
get
from.
it.
and
I
they're,
get
and
it.
they're
Like,
much
if
more
you're-
reasonable.
Right.
You got that
Whereas like
drop.
for
Yeah, if you
for
got
like
that to drop, that's
for,
some
for like a
serious
lease,
money.
like
Yeah.
I
For-
get yelled at back and forth, and all of a sudden I've revised the lease agreement for the 15th fucking time.
The penny pushers.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm not paying $1,500 for this. I see a scratch on the floor. Like,
Exactly.
It just
Mhm.
gets
Paying
more
Like,
money.
shit like that.
$14.80. Like,
shit like
Yeah.
that.
It's like people fighting on
and
the
that's
dollar
why
menu
I
type shit.
appreciate that you said you would help me rent out my house when this
Absolutely.
came up.
Not a
Because
problem.
now I realize how much more of a difficult situation it can be.
Yeah,
Just by
no,
Oh,
you
100%.
explaining this to me. I didn't realize all these details until you explained that. And now I'm like, oh my God, I have such a larger perspective on the situation of it. So thank you, Mike.
Yeah, no, 100%. A good example of this, without digging too much into it. So right now, there's a new agent on our team who just picked up a lease, and it's a $4,500 a month lease. And where she had our marketing person send out our go-to photographer, who's usually shoots like all of our listings, whether they're a couple $100 grand or whether they're like 30, 40 million. Okay. But so like he charged a flat rate for this property of like $500, but he does great
That's
shit.
great.
He does great shit. But so yesterday I'm at dinner with our marketing person. She gets an email from this agent and she's like, like landlord's super unhappy with the pictures, and they look prime. Okay. They look absolutely great. But so my advice to like this marketing person who's all of our good friend was, you got to put your foot down. It like if we get somebody back out there to reshoot, it's going to be at least another $500. That's also it comes out of the agent's pocket.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, for a $4,500 lease, if like another agent brings you the tenant, you're only getting paid half of the total commission, which would come out to maybe $2 grand before a broker's split.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, once the broker's split happens, you have your split with my boss, who's like the actual leader of the team. And then on top of that, since you're an independent contractor as an agent, like you can average it's good to put like at least 30% off to the side for when you eventually get charged taxes.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, this agent would end up making like let's just call it $1,300 on this lease when she finally like,
Closes.
leases it.
Mhm.
And she's $1,000 in on photos.
Yeah,
It's like,
I'd be so heated
Yeah.
at that point.
yeah, but like so many people just don't understand that. She's like, and she was getting really irate with our marketing person. She's like, no, just like send out another photographer. Like we got to do it. And I'm like, you need to put your foot down and tell her flat out, it's a $4,500 fucking lease.
yeah, it has to be worth your while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
100%.
Damn, dude. Well, you've illuminated like so much
Mhm.
shit.
I'm glad. I'm
Thank
glad.
you. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Right.
learning shit about you that I didn't even know.
Yeah,
Knowing you
that's-
for almost 10 years now, I didn't know, like, your years in Germany and all of that shit. So,
It's wild, dude.
Good.
is there anywhere where you want people to find you,
Instagram, social
Yeah,
media,
online, not-
websites,
not in person.
anything.
catch me outside, bitch?
Dash me outside.
Honestly, I do work in this like in the sales end like of real estate and but I work on the end of like I'm not the independent contractor, like
Sure.
I'm salary, like it's good, it's fun. I get to help people along the way and like show people and agents on my team like how to navigate through a deal. Which I think really, really helps towards my philosophy of like, I don't want to be a salesy type person ever.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And keep in mind, like on a lot of these deals, like usually when it's just like a deal that my boss only is representing, like I'm the only one that's negotiating it
Sure.
Mhm.
to try and make it happen. And my philosophy,
Yeah.
like over, the couple of years that I've been in it, like in this position,
Mhm.
is if you can tell somebody doesn't like it, cool, absolutely. Like still keep trying your best, like point out like, good pros, about the sale, about the house, whatever. But if at the end of the day, like you sense 100%, this person just isn't that person, I'm not going to be that salesy dude and is going to like try to pitch you into something.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
I think
Yeah.
that's awesome.
This is an
You know what
honest
I mean?
man we got
like,
here.
You're gonna keep it honest and
You're
real.
true
Like,
to it,
this is
yeah.
what's happening.
I-
and I'm
if
gonna do my
somebody
best to help
likes
you
the
out.
place, exactly. If somebody likes the place that I'm presenting to them, they'll like it. There's not much that I have to say to convince
Yeah, it
them
can
on
be
that.
much more
Mhm.
natural than it needs. Yeah.
100%. And then at the end of the day, you're also much more respected, and that's kind of the calling that we have. Like our team in the industry, like we're not bullshitters. Like we're humble, we're not pushy, and we're known for that in the
That's
brokerage
commendable,
community.
man.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you for being here tonight.
Yeah, we really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, this-
All day,
100%.
baby.
It's been a great pleasure. Hopefully for everybody who's out there listening, you guys had a good time. I had a great time just shooting the shit with my boys, and it's been a good time on here.
Hell
Oh
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so to close this out tonight, thank you, Mike Buchhauer. And then we're gonna roll this out tonight with a new track by one of my favorite LA artists, this dude Petros, who you guys should check this out. Along with the rest of his discography, his new project is out right now, and I'm gonna play the first track off it. Project's called R.I.P. Loverboy, and he's done work with everybody from the producer Taro to my favorite track, How I Found Him. This track Paper, featuring Black Bear, who I'm a total fan of, and this track is called SMS in a Bottle. So let's go.
Cheers.
You should really get to know. You should really get to know me. Please don't kill the messenger. Please don't kill the messenger for me. You probably won't believe if I told you what I saw. There's not much peace, but there's war. I'm hiding in my room, writing letters back to you, trying to speak the truth. I need a message in a bottle. Tell me what to do tomorrow. When I'm hitting rock bottom, tell me what I'm doing wrong. It's a in a bottle that should come tomorrow. Message in a bottle that should come tomorrow. Message in a bottle, message in a bottle. You don't know me, but I know you. You probably won't believe if I told you. If the younger me was the old you, I just wanna change what you go through. I hope you get a chance to save yourself. Get out of town to make it wealth. Don't go to college cause it won't help. Your dad won't call till you make $1 million. When it's time to party, I know you gon' do the most. Drink till you pass out, wake up, then you gonna smoke. Break a heart before you pick up flowers. Put you in a drought, no more sunny showers. I need a message in a bottle. Tell me what to do tomorrow. When I'm hitting rock bottom, tell me what I'm doing wrong. Message in a bottle that should come tomorrow. Message in a bottle that should come tomorrow. Message in a bottle that should come tomorrow. Message in a bottle, message in a bottle. I need a message in a bottle. Didn't wanna call you, got a lot of problems and I really wanna solve them. Didn't wanna bother God, cause I could go on, and I'd rather just right my wrongs. To the little me, to the little G, that never wore jeans and you dot your I's and you cross the T's, and it usually ain't what it seems. Let me tell you what I've been through. Been locked up in a bedroom. Got my wrist with my first girlfriend. Your first real kiss, she hard to forget. Part of my ex. You gon' mess you up, mess you up, mess you up, mess you up. I need a message in a bottle. Tell me what to do tomorrow. When I'm in rock bottom. Message in a bottle that should come tomorrow. Message in a bottle that should come tomorrow. Message in a bottle that should come tomorrow. Message in a bottle, message in a bottle.
Show no shame.